Welcome to the program. This afternoon, diplomatic tensions are escalating between South Africa and Ghana after the Ghanaian government postponed President Cyril Ramaphosa's planned visit amid escalating xenophobic attacks targeting Ghanaians and other African migrants in that country. JoyNews sources at the Jubilee House say the visit has been deferred because of the current security and diplomatic climate. The attacks have forced the repatriation of about 1,000 Ghanaians, with hundreds more reportedly awaiting evacuation. The situation escalated after a Ghanaian national was reportedly killed on June 30th during demonstrations by xenophobic groups, an assertion that has since been denied by the South African government. Let's listen to a playback of an interview on the Super Morning Show with Winston Amwa when he hosted South African Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Ronald Maloma.
What we are clarifying is the fact that let's deal with the factual issues and not provide misinformation that there is 15 Ghanaians in our hospitals that have been injured during the current wave of protests. We have checked and found that that there's none.
Close to elections in South Africa, these things do happen. And so if I look at, the 2008 situation, very close to the 2009 situation, there are those who say there are political undertones behind this. Would you agree?
Yes, I agree. It does happen towards elections from time to time, and there is not only about elections, also external players. As you are aware, South Africa has got positions that it has taken with regards to the ICJ case in Israel. You will know that we're currently or recently dealing with the issue of white genocide in South Africa that was found to be a lie and not to be true as part of misinformation. This also is seen as a default position because of the history of South Africa in terms of racial segregation, ethno-nationalism, and issues related to violence and dividing parts of the country. So indeed, there is an underhand in relations to this externally and internally, and that is what we are dealing with to respond to, so that South Africa can be isolated in the international community as a moral and a constitutional society that protect, respect the rule of law and with the human rights outlook. So that cannot be excluded also in the equation.
And there have been a release of diplomatic cables by both governments of Ghana and South Africa. My colleague Michael Ashali is joining me in the studio. He's been going through both diplomatic cables and he has details. Michael, let's start with the cable by Ghana. What does it say?
Well, so notably, this is dated the 6th of July 2026 and comes with the stamp of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs here in Accra. And this is a rather brief diplomatic cable that has been sent here. And it says that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Republic of Ghana presents its compliments to the High Commission of the Republic of South Africa in Accra, and has the honor to inform that due to state exigencies, and to note that due to state exigencies, it has been deemed appropriate to actually postpone the forthcoming session of the Ghana-South Africa Bi-National Commission, which was originally scheduled to take place in Accra, Ghana, from 4th to the 7th of July 2026. In August 2026. So this particular meeting, what we know, the Ghana-South Africa Bi-National meeting was supposed to happen in August, the 4th to 7th. The ministry wishes to inform the esteemed High Commission that the session will be rescheduled to a mutually convenient date in due course. And then the diplomatic cable from Ghana's High Commission of Foreign Affairs says the Ministry of Foreign Affairs avails itself to this opportunity to renew the High Commission of the Republic of South Africa in Accra the assurances of its highest consideration. Then it signs off, and you can see that particular stamp there from Ghana's High Commission. This is the diplomatic cable that Ghana had sent to the South African authorities, asking for the date possibly to be rescheduled to a different date, when they say, they give us a reason that state exigencies. Then we got another letter again from the South African International Relations Office. Again, notably, this is also dated the same day. And it reads that the Department of International Relations and Cooperation of the Republic of South Africa presents its compliments to the High Commission of the Republic of Ghana and has the honor to refer to a note verbal dated 23rd April 2026 with a reference number PRE. It goes on there confirming that the August 4th to 7th 2026 as date of the third session of the South Africa-Ghana Binational Commission to be held in Accra, Ghana. South Africa requests for the postponement of the BNC to a date to be mutually agreed through diplomatic channels. The Department of International Relations and Cooperation avails itself of this opportunity to renew to the High Commission of the Republic of Ghana the assurance of its highest consideration. Notably, a few things are different and also similar. You can see the wording almost similar, the request for the postponement, and the department avails itself to the opportunity. So Ghana also write almost the same. But notably again, this one does not give us a reason calling for the postponement or the rescheduling of this particular meeting that was set to happen in the 4th to 7th of August 2026.
I think one of the most interesting aspects of both diplomatic cables are the dates. We see that they are all dated the 6th of July, which is just yesterday. Surely they both must not have been released at the same time. What are our sources telling us?
So, like you mentioned, both letters are dated for the 6th of July 2026. And definitely, both countries cannot be calling for a postponement almost at the same time. Somebody must have reason to want to be requesting for a postponement in the first place, and the other must be responding to it. Unless, of course, one of these parties may be pushing for a face-saving mechanism or sort of in this particular engagement. But you hear from Ghana's statement clearly, and if you can give us Ghana's statement tells us that there's a reason they are asking for the rescheduling of this particular meeting that was supposed to happen in August, which is supposed to be next month. So Ghana's statement notably says that due to state exigencies, it does not go further to explain what those exigencies are. But we clearly know the tension between Ghana and South Africa, given the quote-unquote the xenophobic attacks that have been happening already. And more recently, the death of a Ghanaian in South Africa. The Ghana government believes that this has directly to do with the March and March protests. The South African government wrote in strong words essentially calling Ghana's government a liar, saying that some of the things we had said was a misrepresentation of the fact. And you can have Ghana's statement here. It tells us that the reason is for exigencies, state exigencies, which is here, and goes ahead to tell us about this and says that we may want to reschedule the meeting. And then finally says that they are willing to sit down and look for a better time to look at this. This is also on the 6th of July. Our sources at the presidency tell us that government of Ghana was the first of these two parties to have written to the South African authorities asking for a postponement of the meeting. And you can see that that has been deemed appropriate because of the state exigencies to postpone the forthcoming session of the Ghana-South Africa Binational Commission. That is what our sources tell us. And they, based on this, think that it was on the same day then the South African authorities also issued their statement, which, by the way, does not give a reason for asking for a rescheduling of this particular meeting, asking for a postponement in theirs, where they also say that, well, they want a postponement of that. Based on what we are seeing, it appears that maybe, just maybe, the South African government may be the one who is walking the face-saving line in this particular one, where they are issuing that statement in response to this so that they don't get this sort of backlash, and not knowing that this particular statement from Ghana, first of all, has gotten some international mileage, where a lot of people are thinking Ghana's government may have snubbed a visit from the South African authorities from coming to Ghana. And their statement may be a face-saving mechanism to try and water down the impact or the narrative around the communication. But Ghana's statement says this is because there are state exigencies. They don't go ahead to tell us what exactly those exigencies are. We know that currently Ghana is dealing with one of the major issues, which is the floods. And Ghana government had to marshal a lot of its resources and attention to try and deal with it so that another such of what happened last week Monday will not happen again. And secondly, also this row between Ghana and South Africa where there's some sort of attacks on foreign immigrants into South Africa. And we know more recently a Ghanaian had died from it. Ghana government had to again put resources to bring some of those people back to the country. So these are the ideas we have around this, but these are the cables between these two countries. And from what we gather from our sources, it appears that Ghana issued their letter requesting for postponement first before that of South Africa government came through.
Michael Ashale, thank you very much. And I must state that we have international relations analyst Dr. Nana Yaw Mreku. Also joining the conversation is Professor Kwesi Pepra. And we also have Nana Yaw Asafo-Adjei, who is the deputy ranking member in Parliament. Gentlemen, I'll come to you shortly, but in the meantime, though, the Minister of Government Communications, Felix Kwakye-Ofosu, has been providing some clarity on the issue. Let's listen to him.
Let me indicate that this is a visit that had been planned well in advance of the outbreak of the recent xenophobic attacks. Indeed, it was slated to take place in early August. But given the outbreak of these attacks and all the issues that have arisen thereof, we sent diplomatic communication to the South African government that we believe it is best to defer the visit until such a time when these matters have been resolved and there's a relative calm. Because we value the relationship we have with South Africa. The relationship stems from shared values and it cuts across several sectors, from economic, political to social relations. And therefore, any such visit should focus on these important matters that have a direct benefit for the peoples of both countries. And given the nature of the recent attacks, there's a likelihood for it to overshadow the very important things that would have to be discussed during such a visit. So we believe that when matters stall and the coast is clear and this xenophobic attack does not loom large over such discussions, it would then be appropriate to have such a visit take place. Let me indicate that some of the headlines that have come out have been a bit sensational. They do not exactly reflect the tone of the communication. So it is important that we put it on record.
So, Felix, if I understand you clearly, are you saying that this visit was actually planned before the reports of attacks on Ghanaians and other African migrants in South Africa?
Yes, it was.
All right. So how would you describe Ghana's current diplomatic relations with South Africa?
Our relations remain cordial. As you've seen, we in Ghana have not done anything to mar the relationship. We have only had to take steps to protect our citizens from attack. And so we know that arrangements will bring a number of them back home. And our arrangements are currently ongoing. We don't think that our relations have been damaged. Of course, we have indicated our displeasure about what is happening in South Africa.
Let's get talking. And Nana Yaw Asafo-Adjei Ayeh is the deputy ranking member on the Foreign Affairs Committee in Parliament. Nana Yaw Mreku is an international relations analyst. Professor Kwesi Pepra is also joining the conversation. Gentlemen, once again, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. But I want to begin with Nana Asafo-Adjei Ayeh. Welcome to the program. We've seen conflicting accounts from both governments of South Africa and that of Ghana in a space of, a week on a pertaining issue. Now, this is what we're getting from both governments. Both are saying that they contacted the commissions of both governments that the upcoming biannual meeting between both countries be suspended. What do you make of this back and forth between the governments of Ghana and South Africa?
So I want to first and foremost thank you. The name is Nana Kwame. I am not Yaw. So now moving from there.
Kindly speak up for me. Kindly speak up for me. Yes, I heard you.
I'm greeting you.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so moving from there, I'm saying, when I saw the headline, I was a bit confused. But I have spoken to a few stations or sister stations, and my point and position was clear, that if the government wants to visit another government, there are communication or correspondence that will transpire between them. Inherent in the communication or the correspondence will be the purpose of the visit, the time of the visit, and other important details of the visit. So I am unable to speak on it until I am privy to the content of the South African President Cyril Ramaphosa's visit to Ghana. Two, when you are privy to the content, now the president of Ghana or the other counterpart would also respond. So you must also know what the reason for refusal or denial or rejection of the Ramaphosa visit is before you can make a conclusion to state that whether the decision, like the headline was communicating, that we rejected or we refused Ramaphosa's visit, whether it is in proper context or it is not. I am happy to have heard on your studio, on your station, Phyllis' response or Phyllis' comment about it. Because in one breath, this whole xenophobic thing is becoming hotter and hotter and hotter. If you recall, it has gone through a lot of process where the Ghanaian government, even in parliament, by the minister, by government, have in no uncertain terms registered their displeasure. You could also find the minister in one breath writing to the African Union, seeking this matter be tabled as one of the most important issues on the continent as it stands now, and the African Union's mid-year review meeting in Egypt. So we've gone far. The minister and the government have made steps to evacuate a few of the Ghanaian citizens back to Ghana. And there have been some level of clash between the foreign minister of Ghana and the foreign minister of South Africa. The back and forth, the social media banter, and all that. We've gone through all this. So the xenophobic issue is a high-tension issue. So I want to know what exactly is it that the president of South Africa is seeking to come and do in Ghana. And if you situate it in the context of the heated argument, it is right to also see the government of Ghana through registering his displeasure, saying or giving indication of the visit not being appropriate. So that is one part. The other part is where you come and understand.
Hello, Nana. I'm losing you.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Much better.
Think that on the other, we have about 60,000 Ghanaians living in South Africa. We have only evacuated about 600 or a little over 600 of them, meaning that we still have more Ghanaians living in South Africa, for which reason their protection, their safety should be important and a priority for the government. Find that, like Felix also said, the relationship between Ghana and South Africa is important, for which reason such a refusal will not be properly fit or properly situated. So these are the two issues that you would consider when you see the headlines. Now, it is proper for government to give us the flesh and the details to now ponder over it and now know that, okay, for the reasons for which government is stating or saying what they are saying is right, or the reasons for which government is saying what they are saying is not right. But for me, it is important that we do proper and high-level engagement on these matters between these two countries. Because we have a lot of things in common, we are doing a lot of things, we have a lot of engagement going on. If we do not, we do not take care and fall to the gallery or play to the gallery, we might not end up getting the needed result we are looking for. Because the gallery might not understand the details and the nitty-gritty of what is happening. Even though I admit that Ramaphosa himself, from where I sit, I am not so much pleased with how he's handling the whole matter. I saw the Match and Match group, or the xenophobic group, so to say, or so to speak. I mean, visit him, he engaged them. I didn't see any remorse. I didn't see any. For me, I struggled to find his seeing the issue as the way other African countries are seeing it, or other international bodies are seeing it. And you could see how he was in the conversation with members of the group.
Mm-hmm.
His condemnation was not even anything to write home about. And even after the death of the Ghanaian citizen, after the riot or after the march, the response from the South African government and the South African authorities, these are things that if you do not critically look at it, you would critically say that, or you would immediately rubbish or throw away the invitation. But that is why I'm saying that my side of the house, the minority, both the minority caucus and the committee, the MPP's committee, would want to have much more flesh and detail. Then we can take a position and know, or then we can support the position of government, or we can suggest something to government, or we can make some proposals to government for government to consider our proposal, like we have done since the inception of this, this South African engagement or South African eruption.
Okay.
So, like I'm saying, we do not have enough information as it stands now. The information that we are picking, I'm even hearing Philip speak for the first time on your show about these things. So, like he said, we value the relationship we have with South Africa. We're having a lot of engagement to do with South Africa, a lot of business together with South Africa. These are very important issues that need to be considered. Again, the number of Ghanaians living in South Africa are critical issues that need to be considered. For me, I think that we should know the reason for the invitation and the reason for the government position. Then we can have a proper and better analysis or dialogue on this matter.
Nana Asafo-Adjei Ayeh is the deputy ranking member on the Foreign Affairs Committee. Don't go yet. Nana Yao Mreku is an international relations analyst who's also joining the conversation. Welcome to the program. It's quite interesting what is panning out between both countries. Now we have seen the diplomatic cables that are being released by both governments, and it appears that they are all towing the same line, but at least Ghana is giving a little bit of explanation. I'm going to read part of the Ghanaian statement. It says that due to state exigencies, it has been deemed appropriate to postpone the forthcoming session of the Ghana-South Africa Binational Commission, which was originally scheduled to take place in Accra from the 4th to the 7th of August this year. Let me pick your thought on the diplomatic cables that have been released by both governments.
Well, good afternoon to you and good afternoon to your viewers. I think that the cable, particularly from Ghana, in my opinion, clearly represents an act on the part of the government of Ghana. Two, in my opinion, and this is let me put it on record, I think that it is to register a resentment or a registration of dissatisfaction with the way the government of South Africa has dealt with the xenophobic situation in the country. I think that it is just a charged political atmosphere at the moment. And whatever the meaning of that statement, state of exigency, that we are refusing to see the president of South Africa, I think that you can deduce from the fact that a number of developments have taken place in South Africa concerning Ghanaians in distress, their attacks. And to me, what broke the camel's back would be the death of the Ghanaian. And I've always quoted one of South Africa's own, Desmond Tutu, right, who has said that in times of injustice, if you choose to be neutral, you have chosen the side of the oppressor. I think that the government of South Africa ought to have come out strongly, right, in their criticisms or in their condemnation of the acts against African nationals in that country. It feels as if the government is strategically, not overtly, benefiting from these things, especially with the elections, in hindsight. So I think that it's a politically charged, atmosphere. And this is a clear case, in my opinion, of a government foreign policy aligning with public sentiment. Usually in international relations, we would say that states are unitary actors and they take their foreign policy independent of public sentiment. But I think that clearly you understand that a lot of Ghanaians are concerned about the way South Africans, the xenophobic, parts of South Africa, and those taking part in these violent attacks have treated Ghanaians. And so people are really unhappy about this situation, especially in the wake of the death of the Ghanaian citizen in that country. So I think that by with a politically charged, atmosphere, it's only right, even though we don't know the reason why, this visit has been called off. We understand that the meeting, the agreement to meet was before these attacks, happened. But I think that looking at what is happening, it only makes sense that we apply some brakes on the visit and then see how things can be resolved going forward. It doesn't mean that relationship with South Africa has been halted. Look, diplomatic altercations, diplomatic quarrels, or diplomatic disagreement happen every now and then. We had one some few months ago with the United States. But where there is a need to cooperate, right, the need for cooperation sometimes rises above, some of these back and forth, some of these diplomatic quarrels. So it doesn't mean the relationship between South Africa and Ghana has been halted. What it also means is that regardless of these cooperation tendencies or diplomatic engagement, Ghana has every right to register its resentment if it feels its foreign policy directives or its national interest, is compromised or is affected in some way. So I think that we probably need to see the devil is in the detail. We probably have to wait to see the reason why this visit, the reason why the visit has been called. But I think that this is not new. These kind of things are not new, and they won't affect Ghana-South Africa, relationship.
I must state that we also have Kwesi Pepra, who is a professor of finance from Andrews University in the USA. We will be exploring the likely economic implication of all of these that are panning out between the governments of South Africa and Ghana. But let me go back to Nana Asafo-Adjei Ayeh, who is the deputy ranking member on the Foreign Affairs Committee. Nana, as I indicated earlier, this is not the first time that we are having a misunderstanding between Accra and Pretoria when it comes to decisions like this. Not long ago, we had both governments come out to state that the government of Ghana was the first to state that a Ghanaian died as a result of the xenophobic march that happened on the 30th of June. And later, the government of South Africa came out to debunk that, stating that, in fact, that Ghanaian died a day earlier. That is the 29th of June, and it was not in relation to the xenophobic march that happened in that country. Clearly, there seems to be a diplomatic row, which many have described, between the two governments. How do we de-escalate such tension that is brewing between both governments?
I have made my point on this matter clear already. That was when there was a serious banter between our Minister for Foreign Affairs, Honorable Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, and the Minister for Foreign Affairs for South Africa, Honorable Limola. He made this point clear. When Honorable Okudzeto made some points or raised some issues of concern on social media, and Honorable Limola also came back to respond to say on social media, even to the point that he used some descriptions for our minister, which I think was not so diplomatic. That's at this point clear. That we seem to be missing the channel for communication. We seem to be taken away by the gallery or the social media, for which reason we must come back to the table. It is so undiplomatic for me to find two foreign affairs ministers, colleagues, who hitherto should be engaging in the room, in the back door, on phone, diplomatically, rather exchanging words on social media. For me, we have missed it. Both countries, both sides have missed it. So I urge that, and this was on the floor of Parliament, and the record will say, that they get back to the table and use diplomatic means to deal with whichever issues we have as a country. And we have the right register our displeasure to the happenings of the xenophobic. I mean, we may not also have some of the information, or we may also have some information that the government of South Africa may not have. The government of South Africa may also have information we will not also have. So it is important that the two parties or the two countries or the two ministers at that level engage more diplomatically than running to social media. So I made that point clear, and I still stand by that point, that, hey, let us stop the gallery, let us come back home, let us leave social media and deal with this matter. Let us achieve results. When we are we speak on its own on social media. We do not need to put the processing of engagement on social media, but rather when we are done with the engagement, the results of the engagement will come out itself. So I employed the Minister for Foreign Affairs of Ghana and the Minister for Foreign Affairs of South Africa to get back to the drawing board and do so. Now, secondly, you see, I think that we have to be careful with how we manage information. We need to be careful as two countries how we manage information, because that is why we have representation in South Africa. That is why South Africa has representation in Ghana. And it is key and important that on this representation, well, the information that the representation are given, we can move to the highest level to engage this representation. If it's possible, we can even travel across board. South Africa ministers or South Africa leadership or South Africa parties can come here. We can go there and do the engagement well and proper, and register any displeasure we want to register, or seek any information we want to seek, and give them what we want to do. I would want to urge that we come back and look at the things well, and manage the details well, and look at the information that we have to put out there and those that we have to keep, which is key and critical and is important. For me, that's how I think is the way for us to go. But as it stands now, I don't think that the core fabric of our relationship, the heart of the relationship between Ghana and South Africa, has been broken. No, I don't believe that. We have some very good, stronger ties between us.
Right. Nana Asafo-Adjei Ayeh, don't go yet. Let's bring in Alistair Wilcox, who is a public and political affairs analyst all the way in Lagos, because as we all know, this has taken a continental dimension. Alistair, welcome to the program. What do Nigerians make of the xenophobic attacks and Ghana's snap of the South African president?
Thank you, Joy FM and the people of Ghana, for constantly putting up this situation in the media, in the front burner. Unfortunately, here in Nigeria, it's not taking as much media attention as the people of Ghana and JoyNews is projecting it all the time. So I give you kudos for that. What's happening in South Africa, sincerely speaking, bogs the mind of every right-thinking African. Not because of the fact that a country does not deserve the right to protect its territorial integrity or protect its environment, but when things get to the point of destroying the fragile unity that Africa has through non-governmental actions by citizens, and then jeopardizing, putting at risk the lives, properties, the well-being of other fellow humans at risk, then something drastic needs to have been done about it. And so I say that how African countries, especially Ghana, Nigeria, and some other countries are doing all that they could within the ambits of their resources and within how logistics allows to bring back their citizens. But there are deeper issues for which I think the South African government did not handle the situation as it is supposed to handle the situation. I see complicity between the
Hello, Alistair. I'm having challenges connecting with you, so kindly reposition yourself. I'll come back to you. Let me, in the meantime, go to Kwesi Pepra, who is a professor of finance at Andrews University in the USA. Professor Prepra, welcome to the program. South Africa is the biggest economy on the continent, and we are all clamoring for intra-African trade, especially with the African Continental Free Trade Area in the balance. Do you think that all that is happening on the continent pertaining to South Africa's relations with Ghana and other African countries, it could jeopardize our economic ties with that country?
Good afternoon to you, and I hope you can hear me clearly.
Loud and clear.
Okay, good. So this situation is very, very, very critical and serious for Africa. South Africa, Egypt, Nigeria are known to be the three biggest economies in Africa. And if, especially South Africa in the south, which a country which is very known for its tourism, mining, banking, and financial industry hub, and also manufacturing, they trade a lot with African countries. They also have a lot of institutions spread all over Africa. They will suffer the greatest impact if they continue to go on the line that they are going. The first one is that at the moment, anytime there is strike, which means that productivity is affected. So production in South Africa itself is going to be affected. And in effect, it's going to affect demand and also going to affect their own internal tax revenue generation. When it comes to the global, the continental side, South Africa is going to suffer from the point of export. Their export is going to reduce because if other African countries like Ghana decide not to rely on their machinery, rely on their pharmaceutical products, rely on their financial services, and indeed it's going to affect exports. And when export is affected, South African investment outside the country is also going to suffer. So, for example, we know there are some talks that companies that are heavily owned by South Africa in other countries, people to shun their, snub or shun their products, which would mean that their profit are going to be affected. And when those profits are going to be affected, it affects South African government countries' investment outside. This may lead also to job losses in South Africa. When your export reduces, production reduces, unemployment increases. So as the people are talking about xenophobic and saying that other Africans have taken their job, the impact is going to be worse if other African countries leave the country. The job losses are going to increase. So in economics, there's something we see that international labor is not substitution; it's complementary. So as we, and mostly we provide the cheapest form of labor so that it can produce at a cheaper price. So as South Africa is pushing us, Ghana and other countries to leave, labor cost in South Africa is going to be increased and job losses are going to come up. They're also going to see that the yen is going to weaken because export is affected. When export is affected, your country's ability to generate inflows is going to really be affected. In terms of Africa, which is the African Continental Free Trade, their fundamental principle, as we know, is to ensure that goods, services, capital and investment within Africa increases. And as we are seeing, this is going to create some tension between countries. Border issues are going to come up. And as it means, after aim, which is one of their main fundamental principles, is not going to be achieved. So by now, after those who are managing after should also be talking to South Africa for us to really understand what is the problem and how we can address it as a continent. In economics, there is a principle we see that every country must focus on your core competence, and then you trade on the areas that you are not very strong. As we are shown in South Africa, their tourism is going to be affected, and a lot of things are going to happen. And in terms of Ghana, it's going to be a mix. Overall, cost of doing business in Africa is going to increase because everyone is going to try to find an alternative to achieve it. So It's not good as we see it now. The South African may be trying to say they are going to create employment, but in effect, it's going to worsen the unemployment situation because what they are known for, which is export and tourism industry, is really going to suffer because of the negative effects. So the trade angle, South Africa is really, really going to suffer as a country.
Professor Pepera, don't go yet. Let's cross over to Lagos once more and try to reconnect with Alester Wilcox, who is a public and political affairs analyst. Alester, do we have clear connection to you now? Hello, Alester, can you hear me? Right, so we are trying to establish clear connection to Alester Wilcox, who is a public and political affairs analyst, joining us all the way from Lagos. But back here in Accra, Nanaya Mreku is an international relations analyst who is already on this conversation with us. Nana, I want to take you back to that diplomatic cable that was released by both countries. It's quite interesting because both cables are dated the 6th of July, which was just yesterday. All cables are effectively communicating the same thing, that they are requesting for a postponement of the scheduled meeting, which was supposed to happen between the 4th to the 7th of August this year. The interesting thing that many are asking is, surely it can't be that on the same day, both governments are requesting for the same thing on the same day. Does it appear that both governments are trying to whip up public sentiments? And really, who is telling the truth?
Well, it's interesting that you should ask that question. Now, diplomacy comes in different forms. There is what we call public diplomacy. And that is where probably I beg to differ from the analysis that was made by the MP on some tangents. That trying to communicate your foreign policy decision is not always done through back doors. We might agree that the language must always be decorum, the language must always be polite and diplomatic, but the channels to communicate must not always be through backdoor channels. You can also engage in what you call public diplomacy. And clearly, this is not a case of it's not an isolated incident in diplomatic practice or in international politics. We see it being done all over the place. So what you can clearly see from what is going on is each of these countries trying to communicate their decision as of this particular moment. And I think that one of the two countries, must have communicated their decision first. And from what we are reading, it comes across as Ghana did. If you look at the timeline that these released, each of these ministers or each of these countries are trying to kind of satisfy a certain political constituency, trying to project their objective as to, one is trying to say that they don't think it's the right time, for the South African government to visit, and one is trying to seek clarity, or one is trying to ask for some mutual conversation on when they think it's right for both countries to meet. But be that as it may, whichever way you want to look at it, the point I'm making is that these cables are coming at a time where the political and diplomatic environment is charged. There is tension. You can't take that out. That the government of Ghana feels that the South African government has not been completely capable of dealing with this situation of to the Ghanaian citizen that died. South Africa trying to dissociate or distance itself, from the development that happened. And the government of Ghana also seeking clarity. But if you ask my opinion, I would say whether what happened to the Ghanaian whether it's clearly, linked to the match-on-match demonstration or not, I would say that even if it's disconnected, it draws attention what is happening. Ramaphosa is coming to Ghana to do, whether it is to kind of water down what is happening or to try to make some excuse for it. I think that this should have been done metaphorically yesterday. Right?
Yes.
The condemnation and trying to provide reasons or trying to kind of make the relationship between Ghana and South Africa and make us understand why there is this politically charged environment or the tension in the atmosphere, if you ask me.
Interesting there. And I must put on record that we've also reached out to the South African government for comment, but have largely been unsuccessful. Nana Asafo-Adjei Ayeh is still with me. He's the deputy ranking member on the Foreign Affairs Committee in Parliament. That public sentiment, especially in Ghana, have been very unfavorable towards South Africa. We've heard Ghanaians called on government to sever ties with South Africa. Do you think that at this moment, public sentiments would influence our relations and how we deal with South Africa going forward? Unfortunately, we've lost Nana Asafo-Adjei Ayeh. He's the deputy ranking member on the Foreign Affairs Committee in Parliament. Let's take you back to Lagos and try one more time to see if we can establish clear connection to Alistair Wilcox. He's a public and political affairs analyst. Alistair, do I have clear connection to you now? If you can kindly unmute your microphone so we can hear you. Unfortunately, we appear to be having some technical challenges trying to connect with Alistair Wilcox. He's a public and political affairs analyst all the way from Lagos, Nigeria. Professor Kwesi Pepra is still with me on the line. Professor Pepra, you were talking about the fact that South Africa is going to lose big time if Africans on the continent decide to sever economic ties with Pretoria. But others will also argue that when it comes to Ghana, for instance, we rely largely on foreign direct investment. In fact, there are a number of South African companies who do business in our country. Surely, South Africa is not going to be the only one that is going to lose out economically. Ghana is also going to lose out economically if we decide to sever economic ties with them. No?
Yes, Ghana will suffer some negative impact if we decide to.
Can you hear me now? Hello? Be hearing me?
Yes, Alistair, I can hear you now, but kindly hold on for me. I'm picking the thought of one of our guests. When he's done, I'll respectively come back to you.
So, you see, these companies that we are talking about, like the financial sector, I hope you've heard others are saying that we should find an alternative, which we can easily do. What may happen is that if all Ghanaians decide that they are moving from South African banks to Ghanaian banks, it means that those banks will have no business to do in Ghana. They will lose customers. And when they lose their customers, they will not become profitable. So by that reason, it may force them to shut down. So the bit of the market which they are providing service for, there are alternatives. So coming to the telecom industry in Ghana, there are alternatives. So if Ghanaians decide that they want to go with the alternative, it's going to affect the South African businesses. So within a short period, customers may move to other will join other companies to enjoy their services. Which means that in terms of our tax revenue and the rest, we will not suffer much.
Okay.
Because what we will be doing is that we are not going to demand their services or use their products. And in that case, it's going to affect the South African companies.
Hold on for me. Don't go yet. Let me bring back Alistair Wilcox again. Let's try one more time. Alistair, he's joining us from Lagos. He's a public and political affairs analyst. Alistair, I want to believe that I have clear connection to you. Please say yes.
I can hear you clearly, sir.
Thank you. You were making a point as to how serious the government of Ghana has taken this issue, and the opposite is happening in Lagos. And we know that these xenophobic attacks are not only on Ghanaian nationals in South Africa, it cuts across all black Africans in that country.
Yes. Like I said, if you can hear me, like I said, it's quite encouraging, and I'm happy the fact that Ghana is taking this issue the way it's supposed to be taken, other than just bringing back their citizens and then begin to soliloquize. And the public in Ghana, and again, the public in Ghana is also taking it very seriously. You know, I can say that I watched the other day where a group went to submit a letter to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, or the Ministry of Ministry of Mines or thereabout, requesting that mining license be severed from the Kwasi gold mine. I can't remember what it's called now, the biggest gold mine in Ghana, that should not be renewed. And I see some actions being taken by the government of Ghana to send a message. See, clearly, like I said, nobody is oblivious of the fact that some citizens that are going to South Africa do not conduct themselves in the best of manner that they should conduct themselves. But you know, like it said, when one finger brings oil, it rubs up on the other ones. I cannot be here and be defending Nigerians. Nigerians have been figured out as part of those that has created a lot of nuisance value to the South Africans. But be that it may, you wouldn't have used the activity of a few to now want to generalize and punish everybody, forgetting the fact that it's the global village, that you South Africans have a lot of investment in these other countries. You know, I mean, without these other countries, how could networks like MTN, DSTV, and all that, how could they have survived? What is the population of South Africa to consume those services? Nigeria is the biggest market. That is the biggest market for DSTV, for MTN. Nigeria is the biggest market worldwide. Right. So if you are saying that Nigerians are coming to take your jobs and with some flimsy things take your women, imagine that kind of thing. When we have beautiful ladies in Nigeria, beautiful ladies in Ghana, beautiful ladies everywhere, and you are saying they come to take your women, they came to take your jobs. I mean, that is ridiculous. And the government of South Africa, as far as I'm concerned, did not handle this issue as it's meant to be handled. So that's why I say there's complicity. If the government has raised up, and that is why government will go. So I am quite proud of the Ghanaian government to have snubbed the South African president. It's just send a message. No country is subservient to the other. So I praise the government of Ghana to have snubbed the president. Let us understand where we are going. Reining your people. I mean, why is it called xenophobic? Because you are attacking and killing. You are attacking and killing others on the street. Blue murder on the street. Destroy properties on the street. In the full glare of media, full glare of their security agencies, and no arrest is made. Nobody is prosecuted. We've not heard of anybody on account of the killing of other nationals on the street of Johannesburg, on the street of Durban, on the street of on the street of South Africa. So let the government of South Africa make the message very clear. They are not for this. They are not complicit in this. Then other Africans can take them seriously. Because right now, I will not, even if the president of South Africa wants to visit Nigeria, I'm sure Nigerians will protest. Because it is an insult on Nigerians. It's total insult. Yes, nobody says you cannot protect your borders. I'm not for open migration where everybody comes in and continue nuisance. You don't have anything reasonable. But those who are there, profile them. Those who are illegal, remove them. Those who have genuine businesses. Nigerians have lots of business that will employ South Africans. They've created jobs in South Africa. A lot of Nigerians have created jobs in South Africa. A lot of Nigerians have created jobs in South Africa. They have businesses thriving, paying tax, building the economy. And then some Mexicans, some group of people wake up. When Nigerians were fighting for South Africans, when Nigerians were giving their grandfathers and their fathers visa and passport to come and study in Nigeria, where were they? Where were this set of people? When Nigerian students were contributing money for the liberation struggle, where were these miscreants? When Nigerian and other countries, African countries, put their own security at risk, challenge the Western powers, challenge Britain, challenge other countries. Why did the British government start introducing visa to Commonwealth nations? Well, not because of the boycott of the Commonwealth Games led by Nigeria, and just to drive the point home about apartheid in South Africa? Was it not why this whole thing about what they call it about Commonwealth begin to take a different turn? Because Nigeria stood that no, we must fight for liberate our people. Where were these people? When their fathers and their grandfathers were being given visas, given money, being trained in Nigerian universities, in Ghana universities, in other universities, where were they? Or did their fathers tell them the story? Their fathers should have told them the story. Their grandfathers should have told them the stories of how other Africans liberated them from what they could not liberate themselves. And now the government of South Africa, the security agencies, is becoming complicit in this whole issue. So I praise Ghana, and I'm going to praise Ghana for this move, and I hope that other African countries will follow suit, and let's send the message clearly that South Africa cannot do without us, in as much as we can do without them, but they can't do without us.
Lester, would you advise the government of Nigeria and the government of other African countries to follow suit in what Ghana has done?
Well, every country should review its own diplomatic preferences. What they call the centerpiece. I would believe that Nigeria and Ghana shares a lot of similarities in terms of our foreign policy. So I will not expect that if the South African president come calling today that the doors of Asoro could be open wide for him. There should be some message. Let's discuss. What are the basis of discussion? And I think this matter should have been tabled at ECOWAS. At AU. The AU should have taken this matter up even before any visit. What they are trying to do now is damage control. But of course, the horse has left because they are trying to close the ban. The horse is already out. You've already. The gate is open and the horses have left. Now you want to start closing the ban. So it's going to be a kind of reciprocity. The way the South African government has treated other African countries, then that is the same way African countries should treat the South African, whatever diplomatic levels they are going to handle it. But it should be, first of all, handled by AU. Let AU come to the issue, because I've not even heard much about AU come to the issue. You can't be killing people on the streets of Johannesburg, on the streets of Durban, on other streets. You can't be killing people on the street, burning their properties, destroying their homes, stealing their properties. And then you expect that you will come calling to Aso Rock or to, what do you call it in Ghana, Flagstaff House or whatever, and then the doors are open for you. It doesn't work that way, sir. It doesn't work that way.
My final question to you, Lester, will be that we know that Nigeria and South Africa have had bad blood between them for a long time. What's the public sentiment of South Africa as we speak in Nigeria?
Well, yes, as I said, yes, I feel the fact that there's been a lot of bad blood. Well, Nigerians, we are being careful because we also understand the fact that some citizens that went out have not represented the country very well. That must be an obvious fact to be mentioned, and so that must not be hidden. And so, even while we are blaming the South Africans for what they do, we also call to order. And the public view is that our own people too must be called to order in some of their behaviors when they go out. Of course, we had issue with Ghana a few months ago in this kind of thing. But also we call that to order. But be that is made, we also know that there are genuine and responsible Nigerians who are out there, who went to South Africa, just like South Africans come to Nigeria, to establish businesses, to legitimately make legitimate income, pay taxes. So here in Nigeria, the atmosphere is mixed. People are angry. People are angry first with the government for not acting on time to bring back that, just like Ghana did. But of course, the people are coming back. And people are now saying, okay, let's also look at how we can hurt South Africa. As a matter of fact, the matter has been discussed in the parliament. I'm sure you know one of our senators, Adam Toshimole. He's not backing down on this issue. He has asked the government to hit hard. Because like I said earlier, Nigeria is the biggest South African, the biggest MTN market in the world. Billions are cut away from Nigeria. Yes, we know employment have been created, but we can afford to nationalize MTN and Nigerians will buy up the shares and for it to run it. We can afford to nationalize DSTV. We can afford to nationalize all other assets all other business they have here. We can afford to do that. Because like you know, Nigeria is also a big economy, just like South Africa. Okay. So, but we've not gone to that level. We want to see the South African government really their own people and to see that life is sacrosanct. You don't kill people on the streets and you call it that because they're taking your jobs and your women. What a ridiculous situation.
Okay.
What a ridiculous narrative. It's bad.
Right. Alester Wilcox, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. He's a public and political affairs analyst who joined us all the way from Lagos in Nigeria. Earlier, we heard from Kwesi Pepra, who is a professor of finance at Andrews University in the United States. Nana Yao Mreku is an international relations analyst. He joined us as well. And Nana Asafo-Adjei Ayeh is the deputy ranking member on the Foreign Affairs Committee in Parliament. He also joined the conversation earlier. Let's now head to the Middle East, because on the 7th of October 2023, Hamas and other armed militants from Gaza carried out a surprise cross-border attack on southern Israel, killing about 1,200 people, most of them civilians, and taking more than 200 hostages into Gaza. The result, regarded as the deadliest single day for Jews since the Holocaust, struck about 20 communities, the Nova Music Festival, and several military installations near the Gaza border. Israel responded by launching a large-scale military campaign in Gaza, beginning with extensive airstrikes and followed by a ground invasion on the 27th of October 2023. Israeli officials said the objective was to dismantle Hamas's military infrastructure and secure the release of the hostages. But the conflict has resulted in a devastating humanitarian crisis in Gaza, with widespread destruction, mass displacement, severe food insecurity, and a growing humanitarian crisis. Maxwell Agbagba is in Israel and earlier today visited the site of the Nova Music Festival, where more than 200 people were killed during the October 7th attack. He spoke with one of the survivors who shared details of the events on the day and is joining us via video link all the way from Israel. Maxwell, you spent your entire day speaking with survivors and visited one of the sites most deeply affected by the attacks. What can you tell us?
Well, exactly, Kenneth. So this memorial site we're talking about is just about 2 hours away from Tel Aviv. So 2 hours drive from Tel Aviv, then you get to this memorial site, which is called REM, and where this incident happened. Now, many Israelis, we've been speaking to many of them, when you interact with them, the feedback that you get from them that it is a day that they will never forget. And in fact, it's one of the days that many of the people we've been speaking to here have been referencing since we arrived here, in Israel. They say, like you rightly mentioned, it is a day that they recorded one of the highest deaths, after the Holocaust. The Holocaust, we know that millions of Jewish people were killed. And many of them have been describing the incident on that day in that same light. So 2 hours from Tel Aviv, we visited the site and we saw the memorial that is in place at that particular site in Rem. Now, hundreds of people from around the world, many of them Americans, some of them also Israelis, we met them on the ground, paying respect to the people who they lost on the day on October 7th. Now, opinions are sharply divided about what happened after the attack, the subsequent actions that was taken by Israel after the October 7th attacks. And that opinion has actually divided, that subject matter has actually divided opinions across the world. So today, when we got the opportunity to get on the ground to interact with people, we sought to also find out from them, what they think about the, subsequent actions that were taken by Israel after, the October 7 attacks. We know that all over the world, there were concerns that were raised about the humanitarian crisis that emerged in a place like Gaza after, the October 7th, response by Israel. We also know the many concerns, that were raised about the humanitarian crisis and the lack of aid entering Gaza. But when we speak to Israelis on the ground also, many of them who we've been interacting with have also raised issues of national security concerns, especially for other communities are very close to Gaza. So where this memorial is, it is very close to the border with Gaza. So kibbutz, for instance, is just about less than 5 kilometers, away from Gaza. And it was one of the communities that Hamas entered after they breached the border with Israel, entered and then, massacred people in that community. Then some of the Hamas militants also moved to the Nova Music Festival where that music concert was happening, and then also, massacred and killed, some people there. So for some of the people we've been speaking to here, they believe that that action that was taken by Israel subsequently had to be decisive enough also, to deter future attacks, especially against border communities like kibbutz and border communities like Ren, where some of these attacks took place. They also talked about national security concerns, and they also mentioned the right of Israel to defend itself. But even as we interacted with people there on the ground, also all the opinions that we gauged there on the ground were not in support of the subsequent action that was taken by the state of Israel after the October 7 attacks. Of course, like I mentioned earlier, we also had some people who raised concern about the humanitarian crisis that was created after that ground and air invasion, by Israel in Gaza. But I've been interacting with a woman, a lady, 36-year-old, who was on the ground, who was actually at that music festival on the day that the attack happened. 36-year-old woman, and she narrated to me how she had to fake her own death just so she wouldn't be killed by the Hamas militants who invaded the concert grounds. She talked about how she was hit many times with the butt of a gun on her head. So you see that scar on the back of her head. She showed it to us, and then how she had to lay quietly, in the car, pretending that she feigning death actually just to escape from the Hamas militants. She was at the concert with two of her friends. She mentioned them as Daniela, a lady, and then another gentleman she was there with. Two of them were killed by the Hamas militants who invaded, the concert grounds. We've been interacting with her, and she's been sharing her story as a survivor. We can hear from her.
The first terrorists, like they are closing us. Every direction you try to go, you hear them more stronger, and we only need to hide. So me and as Daniel and Yochai, they land on their back. It was like some big tree like that. So Daniel and Yochai land on their back, and I did the same thing, and we start to cover themselves like that with the plants. And also when I said cover us, this is the ground here. You see, like it's like a stone. Everything like that is like, you cannot dip, you cannot cover you. And the leaves, this is the same leaves, because that like when people sell bushes, we don't have bushes here. Nothing, it's a low trees. So it was like that, and I felt so exposed, so I turned around on my stomach and I protect my head. And after seconds, they went to the bushes and they said in English, get up, get up, get up, the terrorist, yes? He said, get up, get up, get up, you. And I knew that he talked to us, but in the same time, I was like, refused to believe the terrorist talking to me right now. And I don't have really time to think, and then I get the back of the weapon to my head. I felt my head like that, jump and fall on the floor. Few seconds that I'm not there, like my head on the space, I see black. And when I come back to be, all my head is like that, but I'm here. I feel someone hold my legs, straight my legs, put something heavy on my legs, and I need to play dead. Like I get some order from God. Like I don't know what's going on. I only know that I need to play dead. This is what I did. I played dead. He messed with my legs. Another terrorist come. They start to talk with each other in Arabic, and one of them come close to me, and I felt that, so I hold my breath. And he like that, pick up my face, look at me, I guess, and let go. And then I felt how they pull this thing for me, and my leg jumped. So after time, I get it, it's some ropes or something. But on that time, I didn't understand nothing. and I lose my conscious, and I wake up after 2 hours, something like that. And I wake up only the noises of gunshot and bullets. Like before that, it was people running, screaming, police officer fighting. It was fight, something. When I wake up, it was only terrorists, and I know that I need to stay like that and not move. And we wait. And after some minutes, it's like that, so fast. After minutes, I start to hear some noises behind me. I was with my face to the road. I start to hear some noises behind me that I don't succeed to recognize. So I turn around to see, and then I see fire. And I get it that they burn all the line of the trees from the fields to the road. And the only way out that you have is to the road. And like I said, around 12, it was the top of amount of terrorists that was there, and only terrorists. And you know that if you go outside, that's it. And I remember that I look back to her and like I'm shocked. We have fire here. And she took the phone, message to everyone, begging to them, said like they burn us, we need rescue and like that. And I wait until the fire come really close, until it started to be very hot. And at some point it was so hot that it scared me more from dying, from the terrorists. And it started to close in me. And I get it that I have to go out. I saw a bandit car on the road, like many abandoned car that was there, and I said to that girl, you see the most close abandoned car? I'm gonna run and hide there, and again, me and God, like God, if I need to die, I get a shot, and I'm gonna die, but I'm not let the fire touch me, like that. She didn't want to come with me because all the terrorists, but on that point, I didn't care, and I stand up, I hold my hand like that because that hand was blow up, and I lay down, and I run. We don't look, right, left, nothing. Like I see the car and that's it. And I lay down, I run, I opened the car, it was open, thank God. And I went to the back seat, where you put the legs on the floor, tied to the door, do me like a ball, tiny as I can, low as possible I can, was their blanket, I cover myself, try to make me look like a pillow. And then I get it that maybe someone saw me and they come to me. And this was for me, the top of the feeling that I don't know to explain that, how scary.
Such a harrowing account by the survivor. I still have Maxwell with me. Maxwell, I can see the skyline of Tel Aviv looking very bright, and I can see you having a good time. Yesterday when I spoke to you, you did mention that you are yet to try some of the local foods in Tel Aviv and surrounding areas. Have you done such yet?
Well, the situation has not changed. But you talked about the skyline of Tel Aviv. Yes, it's 6:25 p.m.
Right.
6:25 p.m. Yes, but it's not dark yet. Yeah, it gets dark like around 8 o'clock, 8:30 p.m. just because of the season and period in which they are. Where I am is not too far from the beach, and about 50 meters away, I can still see people swimming. But that is the experience that you get from a place like Tel Aviv. And some months ago, in the heat of the conflict,
right,
Israeli, U.S., Iraq conflict, we had missiles. This country actually experienced missiles raining down, especially, on Tel Aviv. These skyscrapers that you see here, many of them were a bit, affected with a lot of tourists actually running into their bunkers anytime the air raid sirens, went up, or the air raid sirens, gave an alert. Many of them had to run into their bunkers. But thankfully, the situation has changed now, especially because of the ceasefire that is in place.
Right.
One of the things that I've also been learning here is that since 1991, there's been a law in place that requires that every building here in Israel, has a shelter, has a bunk, because of the.
Oh, we have unfortunately lost Maxwell Agbaba there, all the way from Tel Aviv, Israel. Thank you very much, Maxwell. Back here in Accra, it's been more than 48 hours since a former National Food Buffer Stock CEO, Abdel Hanan, was arrested by BNI operatives at the airport for allegedly attempting to withdraw money from his frozen account. His lawyers say they have been refused access to their client, leading them to file an application at the court seeking in order to produce him. Well, JoyNews is now learning that he has since been moved to Iyoko custody, and my colleague Gemma Apia has details of it. She's joining me in studio with the very latest. Gemma, what do we know?
So our sources within Iyoko tell us that on Saturday night when he was arrested, he was actually arrested by Iyoko operatives and was moved to BNI custody on that Saturday when he was arrested at the airport. And that's contrary to what we heard from the lawyers for Hanan. We were told by them that he was actually arrested by BNI operatives. Now, he was transferred to Iyoko custody, so he was in the custody of BNI from that Saturday night to last night. We are told by our sources within Iyoko that he was moved to Iyoko last night, and at Iyoko he was moved there and was cautioned by Iyoko on his attempt to violate the freezing orders of the court on his bank accounts in contravention of Section 37 of the Iyoko Act 804. Now, our sources are also saying that he has been granted bail to the tune of 5 million cedis and is currently undergoing all compliance procedures. However, the AG, we are even told, that is expected to file a motion. That was in the statement released by the Deputy AG, Cyril, on Saturday night when he announced the arrest of Hanan. Now, we're also getting or speaking to Hanan's lawyers who tell us that, yes, indeed, they are aware that he has been moved to the custody of Iyoko, and yes, that happened. They give further details that happened at 7 p.m. He was moved to the custody of Iyoko at 7 p.m. At 9 p.m., they granted him bail to the tune of 5 million cedis with 2 sureties, both to be justified. Now, they are raising concerns about this bail condition. They say that it's an attempt to just keep him in custody, and that's why they are setting this particular bail condition, and they know that it may be difficult for him to meet these bail conditions. So these are the issues that we are raising or we are hearing from Hanan's lawyers as well as our sources within Iyoko.
Gemma Apia, thank you very much. Well, let's go on to Zoom right now and speak to private legal practitioner Martin Pegbu. Martin, grateful for your time this afternoon. We understand now that he's been granted bail to a tune of millions of Ghana cedis, which his representatives are saying that it's an attempt to still keep him there. Now, he was initially detained at BNI custody and then moved to Iyoko custody. Within that period, would you say that he spent more than 48 hours in the custody of law enforcement authorities? Hello, Martin.
Ken, to calculate, we have to be given the... Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Yes. So I said to calculate or to be certain that we need to check the time he was arrested. That's what we use to calculate the 48 hours, because the Supreme Court is clear that 48 hours is 48 hours. So let's see the time he was arrested. So if it's Saturday, whichever time Saturday it is, then we start. I don't have that specific time. I don't know if your producer can check.
Right.
So Saturday, that means that, so whatever time it was Saturday, that corresponding time Sunday was 24 hours. And then that corresponding time on Monday will be 48. So the other thing we have to look at is that once the bail conditions are such that the key thing is that if the person is not able to meet the conditions and cannot leave custody immediately, there is that point, part of our legal jurisprudence, where lawyers insist that then send him to court. Because the Article 14, Clause 3 says that if it's not released, so if it's not released, so some lawyers, I thought some were pushing. I thought by now we'll have a definitive ruling on it, but I don't think there is. I haven't seen one. So I'm pointing out that if you interview some lawyers, they will tell you, and it's good I mention it. For me, usually this side, yes, it appears attractive. The key thing is that if the person is not leaving your custody within the 48 hours, then perhaps send him to court, then the judge will decide. You see, it's attractive. Because maybe if you have time, let me see Article 14, Clause 3. Let me see if I can read it. Sorry. 14 Clause 3. Because once the person is not left your custody, so the other side is that law enforcement people too will say that they have admitted him to bail. So once they have done their part. So if you are not able to meet their conditions, then, like we say, unfortunately, like, it's your own wahala. Okay, please, I'm saying the wahala just to create a bit of humor. So look at 14 Clause 3. It says, a person who is arrested, restricted, or detained, blah, 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 let's go on, shall be brought before a court within 48 hours after the arrest, restriction, or detention. You see?
Right.
Now, the question, yes, so that the question is that once he's still in the custody, so once he's still in the custody and has not come out, it means that bring him before the court. He said. So this is what, and then let's go to the B. The B that even makes it stronger. It says that, and who is not released. So the key thing is that, so the released are mentioned. It's in the Article 14, Clause 3B. So it says that when the person is arrested, restricted, or detained upon reasonable suspicion of having committed or being about to commit a criminal offense under the laws of Ghana, and who is not released. So you see the word there is released.
Right.
So has he been released? If he's not been released, then send him to court. So that's why lawyers, that's a new chapter in our jurisprudence. Because the key word is released. But law enforcement nowadays are also saying that, like Hanan's case, and this is not the first time, they say, oh, we've admitted him to bail.
Right.
We've given him bail conditions. So it's when he meets them, then he's out. But the Constitution is not saying when you've given him the conditions and he's not meeting it, you fulfill. It says that released. If he's not released, so ordinary meaning of release is he's out and walking, has his personal liberties intact. So if that's not the situation, then send him to court. So that's what we should be pushing, to get a definitive ruling by the court to see whether the way law enforcement are interpreting it, that when they give you bail, then they are done, or what the lawyers, some lawyers are saying that no, send him to court because he's still in your custody. Which one should reign supreme?
He's been granted a bail to the sum of millions of Ghana cedis. This is not the first time that we are hearing.
Hello?
Hi, Martin. Can you hear me? Hello, Martin. That's Martin Pebu there. He's a private legal practitioner, giving us some insight as to the options available for the detained former Buffer Stock CEO. Martin, do I have clear connection to you now?
Yes.
Right. Once again, we are learning that he's been granted bail, but to the sum of millions of Ghana cedis, which his reps are saying is an attempt to, keep him behind bars for a number of days. This is not the first time that we're seeing something like this. It appears that your campaign for bail conditions not to be used as a weapon against suspects have fallen on deaf ears, no?
On the face of it, it's beginning to look like it in this case, but we cannot be definite. We cannot be categorical because we don't have a full statement of what he's done wrong. So far, we are hearing that there was an attempt to withdraw money. I would be surprised that the attempt to withdraw money can attract 5 million cedis bail. I'll be surprised. So like I kept saying yesterday, it's okay that you are giving this matter attention. It's good because this concerns all of us. All of us. Like I keep saying, as for power, it's transient, right? So it's good you are giving it this in the right traction that it deserves. Kudos to Joy FM. But looking at the way it looks very odd, if somebody is going in to withdraw money, he didn't succeed in withdrawing, I'll be surprised that that alone can attract 5 million cedis bail. So because of that, I'll not be categorical. I'll wait. When law enforcement is done, they will bring out the facts. Then we can analyze fully because we don't want to run ahead of ourselves. Right? So the key thing now should be how maybe they will prevail upon law enforcement to modify the bail conditions so that he comes out. Because the key thing is that he's already on bail. I understand that bail is bigger than this 5 million cedis. So the key thing is that somebody who is on bail on a higher sum of money, I mean, it should count for something so that this new one should not, as I said, we don't know the full facts, but, you know, somebody who is already on bail, the bail that he is on should count for something so that it should influence law enforcement in looking at this one.
So, Martin, what you read to me, it means that he should not be continued to be kept in Yoko custody, even if he's not been able to meet the bail conditions. The right thing for him and the law enforcement agencies to do is to process him for court as soon as possible. Yes, if you are going by the black letter of the law, he says that if he has not been released, so if we all understand the meaning of has the person been released, the release means that he's out of the custody. So if he's in custody, then it should go to court. But like I've said, law enforcement people are also saying that, but we've said these are the bail conditions. So if the person cannot meet the conditions, why should we be saddled with going to court? So maybe in the next constitutional review, we can look at how to accommodate them. But for now, that's law enforcement, their interpretation. But for now, on the balance, the word is, if you have not released him, so if your conditions are the conditions of bail are keeping him in the custody, then bottom line, you've not released him, because released means he should be out of the custody. No matter how generous you make the bail conditions, if he's inside the cooler, he's still inside, he has not been released. Unless they're going to get an interpretation that says that if the bail conditions, but it looks on the balance that release will be a physical release, not that I've given him very generous conditions that even Jesus Christ will struggle to give. So for me, I'm done. No, I don't think that interpretation, because then it will become subjective, because law enforcement may say that, oh, we've given you very cool terms, cool chop. But the thing you will call cool chop, another person will say is too much for me. Right. So I think we should be very objective in the meaning. Is he physically out and about? If it's not physically out and about, then take him to court. Martin Pebu, thank you very much. He's a private legal practitioner there, giving us some insight into the arrest of former Bafa Stock CEO Abdul Hanan. Let's now take you to Parliament, where the Speaker of the House is addressing the members.
106 clause 4 of the Constitution and the relevant provisions of the standing orders of Parliament. The committee considered the bill and presented its report to the House. The report was debated, and the bill successfully passed through the second reading stage on 30th July 2024, but could not be taken through the consideration stage before the dissolution of the 8th Parliament. Consequently, upon the dissolution of the 8th Parliament on 6th January 2025, the bill lapsed. In view of the national importance and urgent need for such an amendment, on the commencement of the 9th Parliament, I directed the clerk to submit a copy of the last bill to the Attorney General and Minister for Justice for review and comment. By a response dated 14th April 2025, the Attorney General and Minister for Justice indicated that it had reviewed the document and was satisfied with the contents. The Attorney General further advised that the copy could be taken through the due process and resubmitted to Parliament for consideration. He also indicated the readiness of government to sponsor a public bill to Parliament should the member no longer wish to pursue it. When the honourable member was contacted, he readily indicated his readiness to resubmit the bill to the House. Thereafter, in accordance with standing orders of Parliament, he requested assistance to redraft the private member's bill to incorporate the concerns raised in the 8th Parliament on the lapsed bill. By my direction, the assistance was offered by the draft department and the redrafted bill delivered to the member for his attention. Subsequently, by a memorandum dated 12 May 2025, the member, Honorable Kennedy Osei Nyako, expressed his desire to have other members co-sponsor the bill. The following members accepted to do so. 1. Honorable Kwame Govins Abuja, Member of Parliament for Adakulu constituency. 2. Honorable Emmanuel Ama Kofi-Boa, Member of Parliament for Elembele. And 3. Honorable Davis Ansa Opoku, Member of Parliament for Impraiso. The co-sponsored bill was delivered to me, and I instructed it be referred to the Committee on Private Members' Bills and Private Members' Motions in accordance with Order 1853 of the Standing Orders of the House for advice. The Private Members' Bills and Motions Committee considered and recommended the bill to be presented to the House for passage. In compliance with Article 291, Clause 1, Subclause A of the Constitution, the bill was first published in the Gazette on the 10th of September 2025, and the second publication was on the 11th of December 2025. Following the expiry of the constitutionally prescribed period, the bill matured for presentation to the House on 21st December 2025 in accordance with Article 291, Clause 1, Subclause A and Subclause B of the Constitution. After the first reading of the bill, in compliance with the Constitution, I referred it to the Council of State for consideration and advice. Honourable members, as earlier stated, I have received the advisory opinion on the bill from the Council of State. And I told you, this council advised against the passage of the bill, which meant that they differed from the earlier advice of the Council of State of the 8th Parliament, which had given Parliament the go-ahead to process and pass the bill. Honourable members, while the advice of the Council of State does not determine the legislative judgment of Parliament, it constitutes an important constitutional contribution to the deliberative process contemplated by the framers of the Constitution. As Speaker, it is not my role to determine the merits of the bill or to prejudge the conclusions that may ultimately be reached by the House, nor is it my role to substitute my judgment for that of the parliamentary committee that will be required to be guided by the advisory opinion in their report to the House. Given the significance of the constitutional issues raised by the Council of State, however, and the potential implications of those issues for Parliament's exercise of its amendment powers under Chapter 25 of the Constitution, I considered it useful to guide the committee and the House with my understanding and appreciation of the constitutional questions raised by the advice. Together with the advice of the Council of State, I submit my humble guidance in writing to the Committee on Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee as to what and how to deliberate on the matter as attached. So, honorable members, my views will be submitted to the committee together with that of the advice of the Council of State. This is a legal matter, and we need to tap all the legal brains to make sure we're doing the right thing. I am clear in my mind that the House is clothed with the powers to amend provisions of the Constitution. Some are able to pass through some processes which are referred to as entrenched clauses. But ultimately, it's Parliament that will process and pass the bill. And so I have attached my views on that, and I'm sure the committee will take that into consideration in submitting the report to the House. What I can do now is to refer to the committee the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana Amendment Bill 2025, together with the advisory opinion of the Council of State, and my guidance on what and how to consider and report to the House, pursuant to Article 106 Clause 4 of the Constitution and Order 165 of the Standing Orders of Parliament. I accordingly refer these documents together with the bill to the Committee on Constitutional and Legal Affairs for consideration and report to the House. I so submit. The second statement has to do with the declaration made by His Excellency the President on National General Cleaning Days. Honorable members, I wish to draw the attention of the House to the declaration by the President of the Republic, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, that Friday, 10th, and Saturday, 11th July 2026, be considered as a National General Cleaning Days in the regions affected by the recent floods. This important national exercise follows the devastating floods, some people say floods, of 29th June 2026, which claimed lives, displaced families, destroyed homes and businesses, and caused extensive damage to public infrastructure. The declaration of the National General Cleaning Days is therefore a timely national response aimed not only at restoring our communities, but also at preventing the recurrence of similar disasters. Honourable members, I believe I speak on your behalf that Parliament wholeheartedly welcomes and fully supports this important national initiative. Environmental sanitation is not merely a public health issue. It is a matter of national resilience, public safety, environmental stewardship, and responsible citizenship. The recent floods have once again reminded us that clogged drains, indiscriminate disposal of refuse, and encroachment upon waterways continue to expose our communities to avoidable disasters. As to whether we still have the Department of Town and Country Planning, I don't know. Whether we still have the decentralized structures functioning is an open question. So addressing these challenges requires a collective national effort involving every citizen and every institution of state. As the legislature, we bear both a constitutional and moral responsibility to provide leadership within our constituencies. Our constituents expect us not only to legislate on matters of national importance, but also to stand with them in times of difficulty and to lead by personal example. Accordingly, I urge every honourable member, particularly those representing constituencies within the 7 affected regions, to actively participate in the National General Cleaning Days and to mobilize our people, metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies, traditional authorities, religious bodies, youth organizations, civil society organizations, and all relevant stakeholders to ensure the success of this important national exercise. Honourable members, in further demonstration of Parliament's commitment to this national undertaking, I'm inviting leadership of the House, and I did that this morning, to an urgent consultation on the most appropriate institutional response by Parliament. Among the matters we considered was whether it would be appropriate for the House not to sit on Friday, 10th July 2026, to enable honourable members from the affected regions to return to their constituencies and provide direct leadership in the cleaning up exercise alongside their people. Definitely, it was unanimous yes. And so I direct that this House will not sit on Friday, 10th July 2026. Other necessary arrangements will be communicated to honourable members. Honourable members, beyond our participation in this national exercise, Parliament will continue to discharge its constitutional responsibilities through its legislative, representative, and oversight functions. In this regard, I encourage the following committees, particularly those responsible for environment, local government and rural development, works and housing, sanitation, health, disaster management and climate resilience to continue their oversight engagements and collaborate with the appropriate institutions to examine the underlying causes of recurring flooding, assess the effectiveness of existing policy and legislative interventions, and make recommendations that will strengthen Ghana's resilience against future disasters. Honorable members, these periodic clean-up exercises are becoming nothingness. What it calls for is sustained commitment to environmental governance, effective enforcement of planning and sanitation laws, responsible development practices, proper maintenance of drainage infrastructure, and behavioral change on the part of all citizens. Parliament stands ready to support every lawful and practical measure that advances these national objectives. Please, committees should go beyond just sightseeing. Let's identify those, particularly public officials, who have been involved in doing what is wrong and not what is right. And let's take the appropriate actions. If some houses have to go, so be it. If some people have to be detained, so be it. If some people have to be taken through the due process, we will support that cause. We cannot continue to press the self-destruct button and not only destroy existing generation, but also that of future generations. So on behalf of Parliament, I want to commend His Excellency the President for this initiative and express Parliament's appreciation to the Post-Flood Mitigation Committee, the security services, the Metropolitan, Municipal and District Assemblies, sanitation workers, volunteers, and all citizens who will continue to support this exercise and ensure its success. I'm sure you all saw on social media how the earthquake in Venezuela gave us a lesson. A whole dog identifying an innocent, helpless baby sleeping decided to go and give cover to the baby. And the collapsing building structures, as God will have it, came on top of the dog. But the dog successfully protected the baby. And for days, it held on until the debris were all removed and the dog was identified protecting the sleeping baby. I'm referring to a dog. We are human beings. I think we can do better than that. Please, that is why God made us to be in charge of the earth. But I'm not too sure we are all behaving like we are better than the dog. So finally, I call upon every honorable member of this House to embrace this initiative wholeheartedly. Let us return to our communities, work alongside our people, and demonstrate through our leadership that Parliament remains responsive to the needs of the nation, particularly in times of challenge. Together, let us help build a cleaner, healthier, safer, and more resilient Ghana. With this, I thank all of you for your attention. If it is a pleasure of the House, I will allow comments on this second statement. The first one was basically formal, referring the Constitution Amendment Bill to the Committee for Consideration and Report. But for
You've been listening to the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, there, talking about the citizenship bill, and he says that based on the advice of the Council of State, they have been advised against the passage of that bill. And for those of you who may not be aware of what the citizenship bill is, it is referring to a proposed constitutional amendment bill on dual citizenship, and it seeks to remove restrictions that prevents some Ghanaians who hold citizenship of another country from occupying public office. Let's still stay in the House of Legislature and speak to our resident correspondent, James Aviji, who is joining us with the very latest. James, which offices would this bill have affected if it were passed?
Well, Ken, offices that people describe as quite sensitive positions in the country, including even being a member of parliament, being Ghana's ambassador or high commissioner representing the country in other foreign countries. Other positions include the chief of defense staff or any military chief service office here in Ghana. That dual citizen could also be an inspector general of police or a secretary to cabinet, our director of the immigration service. And so for all the three security service agencies in Ghana, such a person could qualify to hold the position as the topmost person in that service, including being a member of parliament. Kel, you recall that when this bill, this constitutional amendment bill was introduced, it was first introduced in 2022, and went through all the process to even the second reading stage, continued the process until it expired with the 8th Parliament on the 31st of December 2024. Now, when the 9th Parliament came in 2025, Honorable Kennedy Osei Nyako was actually the one who re-sponsored this bill and brought in other members of Parliament to be co-sponsors of the bill, including Honorable Gavin Kwame Agboja, as well as the minorities, David Sansa-Opoku, were all co-sponsors of the bill. And it traveled all the way until the Speaker announced on one proceeding that it must be referred to the Council of State for some advice on it, because at the time there were some pushback from a number of Ghanaians who bemoaned the fact that allowing persons with dual allegiance to both Ghana and foreign countries to hold such sensitive positions will not augur well for the country. They may not be able to protect top secret issues of Ghana and may betray the country when the need be. And so that informed the decision for the strong public backlash of a pushback on this bill, and finally went to the Council of State. Until today, we have been told that it's official that the Council of State has advised Parliament to pull the brakes on this. The Speaker indicated that even though the Council of State does not have any power to stop the proceedings on any bill of Parliament,
he believes that this is an advice that would, this is a good advice, and so would urge the committee responsible for this particular bill to consider the advice of the Council of State. What it means is that the committee, together with leadership, would have to take a final decision on whether or not Parliament indeed want to accept this advice from the Council of State and halt the approval process, or they may reject it. And so that's the information that is just coming in now, as the Speaker has been announcing, together with a directive from the presidency on the National Days for Cleaning, which he said he went further to declare Friday as no sitting day in Parliament. Parliament will not sit on Friday to allow MPs to go to their constituency to actively mobilize their constituents for the clean-up exercise.
James, let's talk about the Public Accounts Committee sitting, because we understand that they convened today. What happened?
It actually the Parliamentary Assurance Committee instead, and the Minister of Interior, Muntaka Mubarak, has been appearing before the committee on a number of security issues. Can you recall that in 2025-2026, there were two major busts in this country? The first one was with regards to some cash, including dollar notes as well as CD notes, and some gold bars that were intercepted or that were seized in some warehouse here in Accra by the Narcotic Controls Commission. There's been some updates on that this afternoon by the Interior Minister. He said so far the dollar notes identified in that bust have been declared as counterfeit or fake, and the Bank of Ghana has gone on to destroy all of them. What is unclear now is how much did that CD notes amount to, but he indicates that the CD notes were actually, were not fake, or they were good currencies. And he, as we speak, he's not able to give us the exact amount of the CD that was intercepted in that raid. The gold bars involved, 17 gold bars, have been referred to the gold board to authenticate to know whether they are real gold. The gold board is yet to get back to him on whether these 17 gold bars are actually good or correct golds that have been intercepted, or they are not fake gold bars. Other issues that has been coming up, updates with regards to the recruitment exercise that has just ended. The minister said as part of the screening process, about 1,300 of the potential recruits who were screened in the process have tested positive to HIV, 1,300 of them. Now, they have put mechanisms in place in order to get them onto medications and all of that. But what he said, as a matter of fact, is that none of those have been recruited into the security agencies into training to come out as security personnel. Also, on that hand, he said over 6,000 of such potential recruits also tested positive to some drugs, illicit drugs, as well as mental health challenges, and all of those are being helped to overcome whatever drug they are fighting. And so those are the key things that has been coming up today. As far as the Narcotic Controls Commission is concerned, he said they are trying to give them some autonomy. The key challenge they're facing now is staff as well as equipment to work. Instead of covering all the 261 districts in the country, the Narcotic Control Commission currently are in only 66 districts out of the 261. And so they are looking forward to cover in the entire country by 5 or 6 years from now. They will be in every district so that the country can get hold of the fight against illicit drugs across the country. Ken, that's what has been happening at the Assurance Committee. Tomorrow we expect the Health Minister to also appear before the committee to answer questions on some assurances they've given both Parliament as well as in the national media on key issues happening in their sector, Ken.
James, thank you very much. Let's listen to the Minister for the Interior, Muntaka Mohammed Mubarak, talk about the drugs my colleague James Asafo-Adjei mentioned.
It shows the video of the destruction, because we can't destroy any drug without the court order, and which we secured, and we've provided the pen drive. I hope that maybe, if you mind, you can play it, or if you played it to your committee. That has been done already. The substantive case is one that is being prosecuted. The last adjourned date was 30th April, and they were to reappear 29th June. Unfortunately, 29th June was the day of the flood, so they are now working to get a new court date. So the prosecution is ongoing, and we want to assure you that once we secure prosecution, we can update you on that. Thank you.
Yes, you have given a pictorial evidence, Exhibit A, and then also the court order on as Exhibit B, and I hope that the clerks will have it. It's in the video form. All right. Honorable Minister, we will look at the videos, but Honorable Minister, what was the street value of these drugs, of the drugs that were seized?
Well, it was in excess of 300 million. It was in excess of $300 million, yeah.
Was it cedis or dollars?
Well, the Director General is reminding me that it's dollars.
That's huge. And you know the number of people who were arrested?
Yeah, there were 3 so far that are currently facing prosecution.
Are they on bail?
Yes, they are on bail. You know, usually we'll keep them, and when we start the court processing, they are made to put surety and all that. Their passports are usually seized, and then the court grants them bail once the case proceeds.
Was the driver and the mate part of those who were arrested?
Yes, please. I'm told that yes, the driver and the mate were part of those who were arrested.
And some people on the run, or all of them who have been arrested?
Obviously, you know, when it happens that the main piece will be far away, but we are pursuing them. And like I said, we use all methods, especially with Interpol. Unless you secure what you call prosecution, you can't get. But for our borders, the stop list and those things, that one is internal. We're able to deal with that.
Muntaka Mohammed Mubarak is the Minister for the Interior. He also talked about the fact that more than 1,200 persons who applied to the various security agencies tested positive for HIV.
I don't know why I was rejected. I don't know why, and they keep chasing for you to do something about it. So were they actually told that because of this reason you are not going through, and then you better go and change your life or something? Thank you.
Well, in fact, I remember he's here when we were discussing the argument. Let's send them the results. And then I remember, the recent recruitment, we had, I think, about 1,300 or so that were on HIV. And then they said, can you imagine sending somebody a results, telling the person that you have HIV? That's not the procedure. The person has to go through some orientation. So one of the things that we did was simply to say that when you get disqualified, you are given a contact to reach out if you are interested in knowing the details. Then when you call, then they assist you to let you know. Because interestingly, some of the things that we realize are treatable. So people need to know and then also get treatment so that subsequent recruitment they could join. So you need to know it's of interest for every person that got disqualified to be interested in knowing what was the cause, so that at least you'll be able to, those that you can treat, hepatitis B, if you have cardiac issues, maybe you've had some major surgery, drug, mental, and all that. A lot of it, some of them, I believe, you would help you be able to get out of it, especially those who had mental issues. People may not even know that they are having mental issues, but these are things that are easily treatable. So we encourage everybody to try and reach out. Don't just say because you've been discovered, you are no longer interested. be interested, because it may be something minor, it may be something major, whichever it is. If you get to know, it will be of great interest to them. But the reason why we didn't send the results directly was that we don't want the shock. Even based on the WHO guideline, there are certain ailments, you just don't throw it on the person's face that, oh, you have hepatitis B, you have HIV, you have that. So that was why we didn't send the results directly.
The MP for Tamale North, Alhassan Suhaili, has commended President John Mahama for strengthening local governance through increased support for MMDAs. According to him, district assemblies are now receiving regular releases from the District Assembly's Common Fund, enabling them to undertake critical infrastructure projects across their jurisdictions. He was speaking during a commissioning ceremony of a community-based CHIPS compound at Banyamele and a 3-unit classroom block at Kula suburbs of the Tamale North constituency.
The CHIPS compound commissioned at Banyamele is expected to improve access to primary health care service, whilst the 3-unit classroom block at Kula is expected to ease congestion and enhance academic performance. Speaking during the handing over ceremony, the Member of Parliament for Tamale North, Alhassan Suhaili, said the projects demonstrate government's commitment to improving access to quality health care and education.
These are projects that are funded by the District Assembly Common Fund, and we need to commend His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama for actually living up to the promise that he made to deepen local governance and to resource our local assemblies. Indeed, our district assemblies have never been as resourced as they are under this presidency. You have a situation now where almost every quarter the releases are regular, and they also have a formula to ensure that they construct at least 2 CHIPS compounds every year and 2 classroom blocks every year. I think that is a directive to them. We are witnessing the commissioning of a CHIPS compound and a school project that was initiated last year. I'm sure same will be the case when you go to the Sanarago constituency.
He also disclosed that there are several other projects in the pipeline.
As we speak, there's actually a borehole that is also ready for commissioning in Kamvle. We also will be cutting sod for the 24-hour market soon at Fo, just behind the Senate area. And we also have started work at an Islamic school just near the ultra-modern school we commissioned the last time in Kamvle. And it is also going to be an ultra-modern one as well. So very soon we will be inviting you once again to help us hand these projects over, in the case of the market, to the contractor who is already on site, and in the case of the school block, I'm sure the commissioning will be done in the next couple of months.
The Sanergo Municipal Director of Health, Mark Bugri, commended the MP and the Assembly for the intervention and called on the residents to patronize the facility.
For the community to benefit from this facility, it will depend on the way they use it. If they don't utilize it, then it is as well not to have been constructed. So I want to appeal to the community that for you to really benefit from what Honorable has done for us, utilize the facility. On our side, we will ensure that whatever is needed for the facility to operate, we will do that. It is now left with the community to make use of it.
From the northern region, let's head to the Ashanti region now, where authorities in the Bosomtwe district have begun destroying equipment used by illegal miners operating on lands near Lake Bosomtwe in the area. The DCE for the area, Abdullahi Hamid, led a team to destroy mechanized water pumping systems used for the mining activity. The Assembly is considering declaring the Bosomtwe enclave a security zone.
The DCE for Bosomtwe, Abdullahi Hamid, led a team of officers from the Police, NADMO and Forestry Commission to clear the illegal mining activity close to Lake Bosomtwe. Beneath the mountain, they destroyed a mechanized borehole supplying water for the illegal activity. They pulled out the pumps and removed the ECG meters supplying power to the miners.
We don't want to say much as to what has happened here, but then as to what I've seen here, we are going to do whatever it takes to reclaim this land and to possibly ward off the entire area, protect it from future activities such as this.
Today, authorities of the Bosomtwe District Assembly, the security agencies, the DCE himself are here because of this lake. Such a beautiful resource is being destroyed gradually from up here where we stand. Today, the DCE has stated that he is going to lead the crusade and the process to declare the entire Bosomtwe district as a security zone.
What we intend to do is that, just behind us was some years mining area that has shafts, some mining pits. So some of these people come under this pretense of coming to do this underground mining deep down under there. So we want to ward the entire area off when any form of mining, whether it be legal or illegal mining. We are going to write officially to Minerals Commission. Nobody should be given minerals licenses or prospecting licenses or whatever within the Bosomtwe enclave. Then possibly talk to national security. I mentioned earlier on your station that we are short of men. My commander and myself, we have barely 44 men in the entire district, taking care of 174,000 people. Only one operational vehicle. Should I even say operational vehicle? Repair and go vehicle. We are struggling to maintain some of these things. So we are going to leave this entire enclave under the care of the national security. We are going to support them logistically and whatever we can do as an assembly so that they can protect this enclave for us.
District Police Commander for Bosomtwe, Superintendent Jeremiah Alale, told Joy News police have mounted a search for some persons linked to the illegal mining activity at Biposo.
We've picked a list of names that are involved in these activities, so we are pursuing them.
Can you share the names with us?
For some reasons, security reasons, I don't think there's need to share the names with you, but we will get them arrested. They've run away. They are not in town. We've gotten to know their houses, know areas that they are common at, so we are pursuing them.
So far, 5 excavators have been seized from the illegal mining camp at Yase, and other activities stopped beneath one of the mountains surrounding the lake at Biposo.
Reporting for Joy News, Erastus Asaredonko, Bosomtwe, Ashanti region.
In other stories this evening, Nana Amabunsu, a respected businesswoman and royal of Menchia, has been officially outdoored as the new Asante-Hima, succeeding the late Nana Akufo-Addo III. The traditional ceremony took place on Monday at the Menchia Palace in Kumasi, marking a significant moment in the history of the Ashanti Kingdom. But who is this 15th occupant of the Asante-Hima stool? Emmanuel Brad-Kweku has more.
There was wild jubilation at the Menchia Palace following the introduction of the new Asante-Hima to the Asante-Hene Otumfuo-Addo II. The royal maidens and other servants at the Queen's Palace serenaded Nana Amabunsu as she was outdoored and welcomed by other members of the royal family and the public. Nana Amabunsu comes from one of the most distinguished lineages in Ashanti history. She is a direct granddaughter of Prempeh I, the Asante-Hene, who together with the legendary Yaa Asantewaa was captured and exiled to Seychelles by the British following the Anglo-Ashanti conflict at the turn of the 20th century. She is also a niece of Prempeh II and the biological sister of the late Nana Akwesi Agyeman, who served as as the chief executive of the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly. Within the royal family, Nana Amabunsu is regarded as a widely accepted and respected choice for the revered position. She is admired for her humility, affable personality, and calm disposition, qualities many believe are essential for the office of Asantehema, which demands wisdom, diplomacy, and moral authority. The Queen Mother serves as the highest-ranking woman in Asanteman and plays a central role in preserving the kingdom's traditions and values. One of her most significant constitutional responsibilities is the nomination of a successor to the Golden Stool whenever the office of the Asantehene becomes vacant. Beyond succession matters, the Asantehema is the leader of women across the kingdom and a trusted advisor to the Asantehene. The Asantehema also plays an important role in conflict resolution, particularly in matters involving marriage, family disputes, and customary issues brought before the traditional authority. The next stage of the royal succession is expected later this week when the Asantehene formally present and endorse the nominee before the Asanteman Council. That ceremony will complete the customary rites leading to her installation as Asantehema. Upon the successful completion of the remaining customary rites and her formal outdooring before the council, Nana Amabunsu will become the 15th Asantehema. She will succeed the late Kunedu Yadom III, who passed away in August 2025, and assume one of the most revered and influential traditional offices in Ghana. For Joy News, my name is Emmanuel Bratkweku.
That's it for The Pulse this evening. For more news, you can log on to myjoyonline.com. Thank you very much for being a part of the show. The news team returns at 7 p.m. with News Prime. My name is Kenneth. Jesse, have a good evening.